Hello, welcome to Minds on Mushrooms. I'm your host, Maggie. We are switching things up. I have challenged myself to create shorter segments. Maybe we'll call them Maggie on Mushrooms. But I figured this would be a great space to keep building community, to get more personal and real. But I truly just want to keep sharing all that I've learned on this wild journey of transformation, healing, and conscious creation. So I'm here to get deep. We're going to talk about psychedelics, integration, the soul's evolution, all of these amazing modalities that come together and are interwoven so beautifully and just truly connected at the essence. And I can't wait to keep exploring with all of you. But today, we are going to be diving into something that's been an absolute game changer for me and so many others. This is something called the critical learning period. And here's the thing. This is a phase that can literally be the difference between having a profound, expansive breakthrough that becomes a fleeting memory, or you can take this critical learning period and be super intentional and create real, lasting transformation that can truly change your life. And here's the kicker. This critical learning period doesn't only happen during or after a psychedelic journey. It can show up during and after deep meditation, breath work, sound bath, somatic healing, yoga, even these aha moments that we have that create perception shift or perspective shift. This is when it really matters. It's what happens after that is really so important, more than you might think. What is the critical learning period? Okay, so let's break this down. The critical learning period is this window of time right after a breakthrough experience where your brain is in this hyper receptive state. Neuroplasticity is through the roof. Think of it like your mind being this freshly tilled garden bed. It's soft, it's fertile, and it's ready for planting. The critical learning period after a large dose of psilocybin can last up to 2 to 3 weeks. And during this time, your brain is craving new patterns, new habits, and new ways of being. It's the perfect moment to take all of these big insights and actually make them stick. But here's the thing. If you don't intentionally work with this phase, it's so easy to slide right back into old habits and thought patterns. So this is why this work really matters. You have to be willing to meet the medicine or your experience halfway. Let me share this personal story with you. I had this one very powerful journey. It was the first time I ever felt completely connected to my true essence. It was like pure clarity, seeing myself through the eyes of love and truth. And it just felt so real and beautiful. And just, I felt it so deep. And I didn't want to come back to reality. It was like the universe laid everything out in front of me. So years of unprocessed pain, patterns, and truths that I hadn't been able to see, but I was just so thankful that I was gaining this wisdom about myself. And it was kind of like I had experienced years of therapy in one night, but I was stuck with this challenge on, I didn't know where to begin in turning these insights into real lasting change. And then life pulled me back into the same old patterns and the same loops and the same routines. And I felt like I didn't have the tools to carry that feeling I had in the breakthrough forward. And eventually it all just faded. It was so frustrating. It made me almost second guess the entire experience altogether. Like, did these things really happen? And I kind of felt like a failure of sorts. I really didn't have anyone to talk to about my experience. And I didn't know ways to make change from what I had been shown with my experience. So it wasn't until I learned how to work with the critical learning period that things really started to shift. And for me, that meant getting super serious about integration, developing practices that kept me feeling connected, and even using microdosing, which I'll touch on in a little bit here, but microdosing intentionally to keep these insights alive and growing, and using this critical learning period time to keep the momentum going. And once I figured that out, it truly was a game changer. My whole life started to shift. So, how do you actually work with this critical learning period? Let's break it down. As I mentioned, after a larger dose psilocybin experience, your critical learning period window is usually intact for about 2 to 3 weeks. So it's during this time that you want to be ultra intentional with mindful practices. And we're going to talk about integration first. Integration truly is everything, guys. It is never ending, it's ever evolving, but it's where you turn your insights into embodiment. So for me, after a larger dose psilocybin journey, to take advantage of this critical learning period, I start to implement all sorts of mindful practices such as journaling and meditation. I have a psychedelic coach myself. You can talk to a therapist. Any sort of reflective practices or whatever helps you process and ground your insights from your experience. This is what we're talking about. And community is huge here. Being able to share your experience, speaking it out loud, getting guidance. Integration is the bridge between your experience and real lasting change. Next, we're going to talk about microdosing. During the critical learning period, I have learned that developing a microdosing protocol for these 2 to 3 weeks that I'm within this window can be extremely powerful, just for staying connected to the deeper truths that were uncovered. It's kind of like this gentle guiding force that keeps you turned into that expanded awareness. So creating a microdosing protocol for your critical learning period that's intentional, mindful, and aligned with your goals, it can really amplify your healing, your creativity, and even your emotional resilience. I've seen it work wonders with so many, and myself included. Okay, so we've discussed how implementing a microdosing protocol during the critical learning period can be extremely beneficial. Now I'm going to talk about creating practices and rituals and setting up routines that really reinforce these new pathways that you've created during the critical learning period. So this can look like daily meditation again, breathwork, and really setting powerful intentions each morning, or even just moving your body in a way that feels good, eating more mindfully, whatever helps you lock in these new ways of being. Because let's be real, when you start creating new habits during this phase, you're literally rewiring your brain to support the life that you want to live. So hopefully you understand why the critical learning period is so important. It really is your golden window. It's the chance to take these breakthroughs and actually make them a part of who you are. But there is a secret. It's not just about the peak experience or the breakthrough experience itself. That's where the journey begins. It's about what you're doing afterward. And I want to help you harness that power so you can truly embody the change that you're looking for. So if this is speaking to you, trust that feeling. You can head on over to mindsonmushrooms.com/coaching to learn more about North Node, and you can book an alignment call there. And we can dive into how to make the most out of your critical learning period. This is where true transformation happens, and I'm here to help you bring it to life. Thank you. For more information, please visit mindsonmushrooms.com. Thank you for joining the journey.